You know, that separate file she's asking about is the evaluation. For any evaluation, it's not the teaching. It doesn't go in the teaching.
Are you here?
Yes. So she wants us to pull out, because all we did was update what she submitted.
The three. It took me like 15 minutes. And then all of us. You said through the time.
She said that one of the teaching evaluations was in a separate file and not in the but that is not a teaching evaluation.
These were the first ones to get out. Because that's what you need. And you're not going to be the first one in the
I read that she wanted to put together a teaching evaluation with the rest of them, but that wasn't a teaching evaluation. I just sent a follow-up email to her. She says,
did you bring anything to the screen?
huh?
Yeah.
It's good. No. Yeah, and she said, except for one, but that one. No, that's not what she says. She says, I may not have a chance to reorganize it, so at least all the peer teaching evaluations are together in one file. It seems some are part of the portfolio file and one is a separate file. So I think she's asking to put the other one in the portfolio, but that other one isn't a peer evaluation. It's mine. So it should be okay. All right. Now what's the thing that's missing a signature? What's missing a signature? It's not in the thread where he said something. Good. So, yeah. Which is I'm showing you the first, second,
Paul needs the lunch. They get the lunch.
You bring it in.
Guys, I know that you guys have your lunch boxes. I know you guys have your boxes. Extra wall is used on a regular basis as a salad. We're asking that you keep everything, all your cards, everything inside the box, and we'll have receptacles for you to throw it out anyway. Okay? Thank you guys.
Hello? Guys, just give you some warning. We're going to start in 10 minutes. So, have your lunch, enjoy your lunch, have your lunch here. Just be sure you have your raffle ticket numbers because there's going to be a lot of prizes and awards that are going to be at the raffles also. Okay? So keep those handy, don't throw them away. And also, I'm being reminded that if you finish your sandwich things, put the garbage inside the box and close it so it becomes easier to collect them at the end. Okay? So any leftovers or any papers, put it in the box and close it. Yes. We are waiting for everyone to get their lunch and come in.
With controllers, yeah. You can sit over there if you want.
Hello, guys. We want to serve in 5 minutes. While you're enjoying your lunch, if there is any leftover, put it in a box, close the cap, the lid so we can remove it later on at the end. And also be sure you have your raffle tickets. Don't throw them in the food leftovers because you need them when we give the prizes out. For those of you that you are good in science, we're going to have some jeopardy, and there are prizes for it if you answer correctly. I'm told that if you are sitting and there is a chair available next to you, move over so there are some people outside that you can sit down. And we also have 2 rows of stairs you can sit on the stairs.
Hello guys, welcome to NOAA CREST Day. We have a lot of invitees this year, we have more than we expected, so if you have a seat that is empty next to you, please move over so that we allow other guests to have a place to sit. Another housekeeping rule is if you are having your lunch, make sure that all the garbage is inside the box and then we'll have receptacles for you to throw it out at the end, okay? But if there's an empty seat in your aisle, please move down so that we can make space for those that are waiting to sit down. Thank you so much. Guys, there are 60 right there. As they just move down, that aisle can move down, so we have one kid move down.
Guys, just to get to into it, we're going to start with one jeopardy. So you know how it runs, that you know how to win. Sarah and Harry, not the big. No, I don't run. How many of you have seen Jeopardy? Okay. So that's the same rule. Somebody's going to pick the category and the dollar, and we're going to ask that 1 second answer, so not able to screen. So, and the person who says the correct answer is going to get the prize.
Good afternoon, everybody. Oh, I didn't hear you. Good afternoon. Very good. Okay, my name is Sarah Garcia. This is Henry Sikunek. He's from NOAA. And we're going to help you to win some imaginary money today for Jeopardy. So get ready. Who's going to be the first volunteer? What category you're going to pick? And over to Harry.
All right, is everyone paying attention? Let's see, I want to pick a contestant that's way up in the back row. Somebody wearing red, maybe with a New York Yankees hat. Yes, you! All right, so what category do you want to choose? Satellite? Okay, and for how much? Satellite for 100. Okay, so the answer is the path the satellite takes around the Earth. So what's the question? Oh, that's the question. What's the answer? Raise your hand. Can you say it again?
I don't know the answer.
He doesn't know the answer. Okay. What is it, orbit? There we go. Congratulations. All right, who wants to be next? Okay, let me pick you. Space for 100. Okay, the time it takes for the Earth to orbit the Sun. It was a year. All right, excellent. Okay, who else wants to do it? Let me see a hand raised. space for 100. We already did that one. 200. These chunks of ice and frozen gas have eccentric orbits and develop visible tails. What is a comet? There we go. Congratulations. Okay, let's hear another contestant. Who else wants to do it? I'm going to pick somebody if I don't see a hand. Oh, there's your hand. Go ahead. Which category do you want? Go ahead. 5 for 200. Okay. These man-made clouds form through condensation of water in the exhaust of jet engines. What are they? What are airplanes? Oh, that's a contrail. Very good. Okay, now I'm going to turn it back over to Rachel.
Good afternoon. We're going to start. That was a little bit just to get used to it. There is going to be jeopardy with the prizes that we're going to give out. So this was kind of trying to warm up the crowd and learn the rules. Okay, we have our president here, President Vince from City College. He's the 13th president of the City College. And I'm not going to say anything more because he's going to have a lot to say, talk to you guys about it.
Thank you. So, first of all, I want to welcome you to City College. I don't know how many of you, I don't know how much you know about this institution. I want to tell you just 2 things about CCNY, and then we'll talk a little bit about NOAA CREST and the opportunities here. The 2 things you should know about CCNY is this. First of all, who knows what social mobility is? Give me a definition of social mobility. Yeah. Yeah, you. Yeah, to be able to move up economically and socially. Simple, born poor, die rich. That's social mobility. Okay? Here's why I asked for a definition. If you're a student thinking about your college education, there is, listen to this, there is no college in the country. There is no college in the country, bar none, with no exception. There is no college in the country that produces more social mobility in their student body than CCNY. So if that's something you think you might want to be part of, understand that this college is for you. The second thing I want to tell you is historical. This is the place, you are on the campus where the idea of college for everybody was first invented in the United States. And that's something we take very, very seriously today. And we take it seriously for our whole student body. But we take it with specific and particular seriousness in relationship to the STEM disciplines. Right? You are here today to learn about NOAA CREST, our programs in these sciences. This is an area in the country where the people working in this area don't look like this room. They don't look like America today. And our mission is to combine those 3 things, to combine social mobility, the idea that education is for everybody, and the idea that these careers are for you. I'll say it again. These careers are open to you. Now I want to tell you what I'm a political scientist. I don't know a lot about engineering and atmospheric science and that stuff, but I've been learning. Right? I was up with our NOAA CREST team in Caribou, Maine, at a time when you were enjoying 60-degree weather last month in New York City. I went up to Maine where there's 5 feet of snow and 50-mile-an-hour winds to look at their remote sensing. I know that's not going to lure you into this endeavor, but here's what I discovered. I discovered the science up there is so cool. They were analyzing the snowpack. People in this room were analyzing that 5 foot of snow to try to help local people predict where it was going to flood and where the ice jams were going to block up the river. And they were using that technology to learn themselves. They were also figuring out how to use the technology that we have on the ground, that you would have access to as a student here, to help calibrate the satellites that were flying overhead. Because the satellites get it kind of approximately right, but on the ground, the City College NOAA CREST team gets it exactly right. And our students were up there doing that work. They were also up there working with young men and women from the Mi'kmaq Native American tribe to draw them into this endeavor. Right? So we're doing 3 things there that we're committed to. Number 1, we're bringing the whole people, everybody, into science education, and particularly the education that leads to careers in places like NOAA. Number 1. Right? Number 2, we're making sure that if you come to City College and you study with us, you get your hands on cutting-edge technology. You get to go out in the field and play with satellite technology and sensors of all different kinds. And number 3, and here's the other important thing I want to tell you, there is probably, over the next 30, 40, 50 years, we are going to start talking about people who know about climate science as heroes. Right? We're going to start talking about the people that can figure out where there's going to be a flood and where there's going to be a hurricane and what we're supposed to do about it as heroes. Because as a species, as a planet, the threats we face from climate change are astounding. We are seeing hurricanes like we've never seen before. We're seeing tornadoes in places where we never saw them before. I was down in the Caribbean about a year ago, and the people from the island said to me, our islands are disappearing. So if you think of climate change and organizations like NOAA as telling you, whether it's going to be a good day to go to the beach or not, understand that in the next couple of decades, if you get into this field, you're going to be on the front line of a scientific endeavor that helps people figure out what it's going to mean to survive, what it's going to mean to be smarter about where we build cities, what kind of technology we need to keep people out of harm's way. You have an opportunity to be a climate science hero if you choose this as a career. And the last thing I want to say to you is this. If you're sitting here thinking, this is not for me, it's not, my family's never done this kind of work, science isn't my thing, maybe you're thinking girls don't do science, or people who look like me don't do this kind of career, you're wrong. This whole program, everything you're going to see today, the people that have come here from national organizations, they're here to draw you into this work. This is for you, right? This college is for you, this field of study is for you, and the kinds of opportunities they're going to talk about are specifically for you. So take a chance. Figure out what it would look like if you spent your life working with satellite technology, with lasers that measure things, trying to figure out where the next flood was going to be, or how we avoid the dangers of the next hurricane. Welcome to City College, welcome to my campus, welcome to NOAA CREST Day at CCNY. Hope you have a great day. I guess my job is to get out of the way of the next round of Jeopardy. Professor Calabari.
Thank you, President. For those of you, some of you probably were not even born. NOAA CREST was established in 2001, 18 years ago. So we have perfected the science and technology for you to get into it. So we have 18 years of experience training and graduating students like you, and some of them are high up in companies and federal government. Speaking of federal government, our invited speaker is Mr. Benjamin Friedman, who is a NOAA Deputy Undersecretary for Operations. He serves there as the agency chief operating officer and is responsible for day-to-day operations in NOAA. Prior to NOAA, he was in General Counsel, in Office of the General Counsel of the Enforcement Section of the federal government. He has 16 years as a federal prosecutor. In 1989, he graduated from Vanderbilt in molecular biology, and then he went to law school in Emory School. And he's a native of Nashville, Tennessee, but he doesn't look like one because he talks fast like me. Okay. With that, I give you Benjamin.
So I think we need to get my presentation up here. All right, yes. All right, good afternoon, everyone. So I really couldn't be happier than to be here talking to you today. I love talking to students. I know there's a whole range of students here. There's junior high school students, there's high school students, there's college students, graduate students. There's a whole variety of students here. And, you know, what I love about talking to students is that it's really exciting to be a student. There's a lot going on. You're trying to figure out what you're going to do, what you're going to study, what your future holds, what career you're going to go into. And I really know about that excitement firsthand because I've got kids. I've got a senior in high school right now who's going to college next year. I've got a freshman in high school, and I see the excitement about what they want to go into. But it's also going to be stressful, and I get that as well. There's a lot of stress being a student. There's a stress on getting good grades and getting into the right schools and trying to figure out what you're going to do. But my goal today is to talk to you about the exciting part, things that you can do. Oh, yes. Oh, okay. Okay. So is that better? Yeah. Okay. So my goal today is to make sure that I tell you about the exciting things that you go into after you get all this great education that you're going to get. And so for the next 30 minutes, I'm going to tell you about NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, and what we do in NOAA. I'm going to tell you about some of the opportunities and some of the ideas about why you might want to study STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math, and why it really is for everyone. So I realize I'm totally biased here, but I think NOAA is about the coolest place in government to work. I actually think it's about one of the coolest places in the United States to work. It's an amazing place. My clicker's not working. Help. There we go. Okay. Okay, so we like to say that our mission takes us from the surface of the sun to the bottom of the ocean, and it's really true. So what you're seeing on the left here is an image from one of our satellites, our geostationary satellites, looking at the sun. We also have a satellite that sits about 1 million miles out in space that looks at the sun. And what it's checking for is what we call space weather, which is emanations off the sun that send electromagnetic waves to the Earth and destroy our infrastructure, things like electrical grids. So we focus on the surface of the sun. And we go to the bottom of the ocean. What you're seeing on the right here is one of our ships, the Okeanos Explorer, that does deep sea exploration. And up top, you can see one of our remotely operated vehicles, or ROVs, that's down at the bottom of the ocean, searching the bottom of the ocean. So we really do go from the surface of the sun to the bottom of the ocean, and we do everything in between. We do everything ocean, whether it's protecting our fish and our fisheries, whether it's protecting the endangered species in the ocean, whether it's charting our coasts, whether it's dealing with ocean acidification. We do everything involving the ocean. We also do everything involving atmosphere and the weather. So we're the National Weather Service, so we do all the forecasting for the country. We also do all sorts of atmospheric research, including climate research, which of course is one of the biggest issues facing us and the world today. See, I'm technically challenged here. There we go. Okay. So, we have amazing resources to do our work. We have 16 ships, research ships. We've got over 400 small boats. We've got 18 satellites that we operate. We've got 9 airplanes, including the hurricane hunters, the ones that fly into the hurricanes, the eye of the hurricanes, to gather data for our forecasting. We've got 7 labs, world-class labs across the country, and we partner with dozens of institutions across the country, including this one right here, to help us do our research. We have almost 700 facilities across the country, including in every single state, with a lot of focus on the ocean states, places like Alaska, Hawaii, California, the Gulf, Florida, Maine. We are all over the country. And we even have a uniform branch of the military within NOAA that operates our ships and planes. So like I said, we're truly an amazing place. So I'm going to tell you more about actually what we do. I'm going to talk to you about each one of our line offices. We have 6 line offices, and each line office does something a little different. The first 2 line offices focus on ocean work. And the first of those offices is the National Fisheries Service, National Marine Fisheries Service. So, of course, at the Fisheries Service, we focus on fish, and we protect the nation's fisheries. We make sure they're sustainable for future generations. And we do this with a pretty simple model. We use science to go out and do surveys and figure out how many fish there are in the ocean. And we use science to figure out the biology of the fish, how long it takes for them to regenerate and how long they live, etc. We match those things together and we figure out how many fish can you catch of any certain species while keeping those fish sustained for future generations. And then we tell all the fishermen, this is how many fish you can catch. It's really as simple as that. And by doing that, over the course of decades, we have done a remarkable job of sustaining our fisheries throughout our country. We're actually the gold standard around the world. Everyone looks at us for how to sustain their fisheries. We currently track 474 different fish stocks, so we have a lot of marine biologists, fish biologists that work within NOAA, and we've rebuilt a number of those stocks over the last couple decades, over 40 of those stocks. But beyond that, beyond just fish, the Fisheries Service also serves an important function of protecting all the endangered species in the ocean. So they don't just focus on fish, they focus on all endangered species. And we have a video to tell you a little bit about that.
All you have to do is look at the Earth from space to be reminded that we live on a water planet. Because we live on planet, it is important to remember that the majority of life lives in the ocean. In fact, our ocean is home to over 1 million known species of plants and animals, and there may be millions of species we have yet to discover. That's why scientists and researchers all over the world are alarmed that ocean animals may be going extinct more and more rapidly. Scientists at NOAA are working hard to help species that are struggling. The Ocean Today Endangered Ocean collection of videos will help you better understand which animals need our help the most and what we can do together to help them survive. Jacques Cousteau, the famous ocean explorer, scientist, and filmmaker, once said, "People protect what they love." In 1973, the United States Congress passed the Endangered Species Act to help conserve threatened and endangered species and their ecosystems. But it will take more than laws to get the job done. We need you. It's a big job, and it will take all of us working together to turn the tide. So let's get started.
Okay, so a couple things about that video. The first is that was Simone Johnson. Simone Johnson was what we call one of our Knaus Fellows. I'll tell you about this program in a few minutes. She was a fellow. She worked for a year at NOAA after graduating. She's now working with the Baltimore Aquarium. You heard, you also saw a plug for one of our video series. We have lots of video series online, so you can go online and check these out. This is called Endangered Ocean, and you can go on and check out what we're doing to save the endangered species in the ocean. You heard about the Endangered Species Act in that clip. And the Endangered Species Act is a law that protects endangered species both on land and at sea in the United States. NOAA works on over 160 endangered species in the ocean, and it's a wide range. You saw some of them in that video. Turtles, sharks, some types of fish, marine mammals, whales and seals, corals. There's a wide range of endangered species that we work to protect within NOAA. We even have a group of federal agents, the Office of Law Enforcement. These are guys that, like any federal agents, they wear badges, carry guns, they go around and enforce these laws to make sure that people aren't hurting the species that we're trying to protect. So that's the Fisheries Service. Next, I'm going to tell you, I'm sorry, these are some of the endangered species that we protect. You see the turtles and the fish, and possum whales. Actually, right here, this type D killer whale, this was just recently discovered. It's a new type of whale that's highly endangered that we actually just discovered. Okay, so next line office is the Ocean Service. So the Ocean Service does everything in the ocean that the Fisheries Service doesn't. First thing is the Off the Coast Survey. This is actually the oldest part of NOAA. It goes back to the days of Thomas Jefferson, 1807. And its goal is to survey the coasts of the United States to make sure that ships can navigate safely. And what you see here is actually an old chart. The Off the Coast Service makes nautical charts. This is an old chart from the 1800s and a newer one from just a few years ago from this area. And for those online that are hearing, just so you don't feel lonely and out of place, we have charts from all the different areas of the schools here. So Baltimore, West Virginia, Puerto Rico, and San Diego Bay. The Ocean Service also works on marine debris issues, and of course, you've all probably heard about the problems with marine debris in our oceans. Plastics and other items are killing mammals, fish, they're harming the ocean, so we have an entire program that helps clean up marine debris, does education, works with the states to clean up the oceans. We also have a program that works on oil and chemical spills in the oceans. Think Deepwater Horizon, that obviously was a massive spill, but in any given year, there's a couple hundred spills, oil and chemical spills in the oceans, and we have the experts at NOAA that go figure out what's going on, figure out how to clean this mess up, and figure out how to restore whatever the damage is to its original state. Next in the Ocean Service is really one of the crown jewels of NOAA. This is the National Marine Sanctuary Program. And if you don't know what a National Marine Sanctuary is, it's like a federal park, but in the water. So think Grand Canyon, but in the water. These are really special places that NOAA protects. And there's places like the Florida Keys, which is basically one big sanctuary that protect. Places like the Humpback Whale Sanctuary in Hawaii, where all the Pacific humpback whales go to breed. Places like historic sites, like the Monitor Sanctuary, which protects the historic site where the U.S. Monitor sank during the Civil War. So, okay, so that's basically our ocean side of the house. And now I'm going to tell you about some of our weather and atmospheric sciences. So first is the Weather Service, and everyone's heard of the National Weather Service. Everyone knows they do forecasting over the country. And what you see here on the left is our radar coverage, our weather radars, and the areas they cover around the United States. So I'm going to talk about this the Weather Service. One is that you can get your weather on an app, you get your weather on TV, radio. So why do you need the Weather Service? Well, you have to understand, all those places you get weather get all their data and information from the National Weather Service. So if you didn't have the National Weather Service, you wouldn't have any weather forecasting. Second tip is, hey, weather is convenient. It's nice to know whether it's going to rain or not, but what's the big deal? Well, weather is a big deal. If you didn't have the Weather Service, planes couldn't fly, ships couldn't sail, agriculture would be affected, military operations would run. In fact, the Weather Service started as part of the military. The weather is so important for military operations that the weather is a part of that, and that's where it started. And really, the weather enterprise and the science of weather is a huge modern success story. Historically, weather used to kill just thousands of people. There was a hurricane in 1900 in Galveston, Texas. It killed somewhere between 6,000 and 12,000 people. They don't even know how many people it killed. There were so many dead that they just had mass burial ground. Even in 2014, with Hurricane Katrina, there were 1,800 deaths in that hurricane. But you've heard President Boudreaux talk about recent hurricane seasons. The last two hurricane seasons have been the worst in U.S. history. We've had multiple huge Category 4 and 5 hurricanes hitting the mainland. And yet we've had very few deaths out of those hurricanes. And the question is why? And the reason is we do a much, much better job now of forecasting weather. And we work with emergency managers to get people out of the way. So just think of this. Hurricane Florence last year, this was about 6 months ago, hit in September of 2018. 5 days out, the Weather Service predicted where that hurricane was going to hit off of North Carolina within a 2-mile radius. So within 5 days, we knew where that hurricane was going to hit, almost to an exact degree. And we started immediately working with emergency managers on the ground to evacuate everyone. So when that hurricane hit, very few people would be hurt, only those who insisted on staying. And so the Weather Service and the Weather Enterprise has really been a great modern success story. So where does the Weather Service get its data for all its modeling and for its forecasting? Well, it gets it from a number of different sources. It gets it from the radar system I showed you. It gets it from buoys out in the ocean. But the main place it gets it is from our fourth line office, which is our satellite office. So as I mentioned, we run 18 satellites within NOAA. These are mostly weather satellites. There's some environmental satellites. I mentioned the space weather satellite. And that provides a lot of the data for the Weather Service and for environmental studies in the United States. And last year was a great year at the Weather Service, and I have a short video to talk about that. about that video. Okay, so first of all, you saw the launch of one of our satellites. It's called GOES satellite. It's a geostationary satellite. Our geostationary satellites sit about 22,000 feet above Earth, and they stare at a single point or a single area on Earth above the United States. We've got one on the East Coast and one on the West Coast, called GOES East and GOES West, and they constantly monitor weather conditions in the United States. You also saw something about one of our JPS satellites, NOAA 20, that went operational. Our polar satellites, this is another kind of weather satellite. It goes back and forth between the poles of the Earth 14 times to get around the entire Earth, twice a day. These are much closer in. They're about 500 miles above Earth. And they're basically gathering all sorts of data, water vapor data, water temperature data, land temperature data, and we're using all this data to put in our weather models to do forecasting. You also saw some of the new instruments that are on these new satellites. These are just state-of-the-art instruments. You saw something about a lightning mapper. This actually checks for lightning in cloud coverages. We can actually see the lightning forming and spreading. And this is being used to predict severe weather in a new way. You saw the incredible imagery that we have. I mean, this is higher resolution than we've ever had, ever in the United States. Just incredible imagery. And you saw that we don't just check for weather. We're checking for things like volcano eruptions and forest fires. And that's because those can affect a number of things, including visibility for planes and other things. And actually, these instruments are so precise now that we're able to see forest fires before anybody else can. We can see the heat signatures, and then we can notify emergency managers to go to these sites to put them out before they spread. Okay, so that's our fourth line. Our fifth line is our research branch. And our research branch, as I mentioned, we have 7 state-of-the-art labs across the country. These do research in all our areas, in oceans, atmospheric, and weather research. And they have a lot of incredible programs, including one which I mentioned earlier, which is the Deep Sea Exploration Program, which, again, I have a short video clip to talk about that.
My name is Dr. Alan Leonardi, and I am the director of NOAA's Office of Ocean Exploration and Research. Recently, we had the opportunity to explore the waters off of Hawaii to see what was on the bottom of the ocean in these zones for the very first time. This is one of the primary reasons why we explore. We go into these areas that nobody has ever been to try to find out what is there. We look at the chemistry of the ocean, we look at the biology of the ocean, we look at the geology of the ocean, and we look at how it's changing over time and how those changes might affect those habitats, whether or not those species will be able to survive in the future in those habitats if the oceans continue to change. I would argue that exploring the Earth's oceans is probably the last grand challenge we have. We are doing great things, exploring the surfaces of Mars, looking at exploring icy planets and water and other planets. But the oceans on this planet still remain unexplored. And the sheer fact of the matter is that almost every time we're down at the bottom of the ocean, in the deepest, darkest places on the planet, we find new species. We find species that are larger than we've ever expected them to be. Or we find species living in places that we never expected them to be. One of the things that excites me most about what we do is the fact that we bring all of our data and our information and our video to the public in real time. Anybody can participate in one of our research cruises as it's happening. The information and video is streamed live from our website, so I invite you to join us on our next expedition at oceanexplorer.net.
All right, so I think that's pretty self-explanatory. Deep Sea Exploration Program is really an amazing program, and you can go online. As these are going on, you can watch them live. You can see exactly what our scientists are seeing down at the bottom of the ocean. The next expedition is starting in a couple weeks in May off the coast of Florida. So look for it, go online, and you can watch this in live as it's happening. Okay, our final line office, the final part of NOAA that I'm going to tell you about is the NOAA Corps. Now, everyone's heard of the Army, Air Force, Navy, Marines. What most people don't realize is that there's another uniform branch of the military called the NOAA Corps. The NOAA Corps operates our ships and our planes. These are mostly scientists that go in because they want the adventure of participating in research at sea and in the air. And these are amazing individuals, and there's often opportunities there. We have classes that start twice a year for NOAA Corps officers, and it's really an incredible career. Okay, so you may be asking yourself at this point, okay, this all sounds really neat, this sounds really cool, but what does this have to do with me? Like, you know, I can't do any of this stuff, this is for somebody else. Well, I couldn't tell you that that's just the farthest thing from the truth. We want people exactly like you. We want you to go into these fields, we want you to study these fields, we want you to come work at NOAA. And there's lots of opportunities at NOAA. And, you know, one of the best ways to come to NOAA is through the STEM fields, science, technology, engineering, and math. We hire in all those areas. We hire in other areas as well, but we are a science agency. We have over 6,000 scientists at NOAA, and at all levels, from the undergraduate level to the master's level to the graduate level. And really, one of your best ways to come to NOAA is to study these areas in college. So why do you want to study STEM in college? Well, first of all, there's a lot of exciting jobs out there right now in these areas. And the thing about science and technology is that it's really, they're areas of discovery. If you're into discovering new things that no one ever knew about, trying new things, experimenting in new ways, getting new information, that's what the STEM fields are about. And it's really meaningful work. It's work that you know, provides meaning to your life. You're doing something positive for a science, for the country, for humanity. It's very meaningful work. And if that wasn't enough, it also pays really well. So, you know, I put here the top, these are the top 3 salaries for recent graduates of college. Number 1 is engineering, which averages $66,000+ a year. Number 2 is computer science, which averages $66,000+ a year. Number 3 I categorize just as math and science generally, which is about $62,000 a year. Now, think of this. The average family of 4 in America brings in about $56,000 a year. That's a family of 4. This is a recent graduate, one person making these kind of salaries. So it pays extremely well. And here's the interesting thing about the study of STEM. You don't even have to go into a scientific field to get those advantages. Even if you study science and end up going into another field, you still get the advantages, the increase in salaries, etc. And I'm a perfect example of that. So I have a molecular biology degree from undergrad, but I went on to law school. I decided I didn't want to pursue science. I worked at the Department of Justice for several years, and then I came over to NOAA about 9 or 10 years ago. And that science degree has helped me all along the way. The truth is, studying STEM teaches you all the things that hiring managers want. Discipline, working hard, analytical skill, working in teams. Those are all things that hiring managers want. So whether you end up going into a STEM field or not, it's a great major to pursue. Now, we at NOAA really encourage students to go into STEM fields, and we do this a number of ways. I can't talk about all those ways here. We literally have dozens of internship and scholarship programs encouraging people to go into our areas of study. I'm going to mention 3 here. One is the Educational Partnership Program. This is a program with minority-serving institutions that we've had for close to 20 years that provides funding for a number of universities around the country, including this one, and to those that are hearing my voice at other schools. It's really been a very successful program. We've had hundreds of students out of City College, over 500 students that have benefited from this and majored in STEM fields. And so it's really one of our great programs. The second program I thought I'd mention, it was the Holling Scholarship Program, and I know there's different age students here. This is for rising juniors and seniors. Take note, if you are a sophomore or prior to a sophomore, remember the scholarship. We give 130 of these a year. It gives $10,000 a year for your junior and your senior year, so up to $20,000, plus a paid internship between junior and senior year. It really gives you an opportunity to know about NOAA and the fields that we study. And the last one I thought I'd mention was the Sea Grant Fellow, and you saw Simone Johnson in an earlier video. She was a Sea Grant Fellow. This is for graduate students, and after you graduate from graduate school, you come work for NOAA for a year in this fellowship program. You get to know our studies, you get to know NOAA, and the hope is that you eventually return to NOAA or stay in one of our fields of study. So we really do encourage folks in STEM and in our areas. So that's about all I have. I will leave you with this thought, though. I talked at the beginning about how this is an exciting time, and it is an exciting time. And you really are at a point in your lives where you have to start thinking about what you want to do. And do you want to do something meaningful? Do you want to do something important? And I can tell you that the time is here, the time is now. You got to start. And there are people in this audience, there are students in this audience right now that are going to transform the way we look at climate science. They're going to save an endangered species. They're going to figure out the next forecasting model that's going to end up saving lives. There's people in this audience right now that are doing that, and the only question is whether it's going to be you. So thank you. I appreciate your time.
It was very interesting. All the movies and all the discussions very interesting. We're going to have one program in Jeopardy, and then we have is that? Okay. Before the Jeopardy, and this Jeopardy this time has prizes that I'm going to give out right then. We have a very important person with us. He was the captain. He was the commander of the U.S. Third Fleet. Admiral Lawton Barker was also NOAA administrator after retiring from Navy for 7-8 years. After he left NOAA, he has his own company. It's called Joe Optics. He hires a lot of good students like you, but more importantly, he has been creating a fellowship award into his name, which is dedicated to the student that they do science, but they also do some community services. This is the third year that we are giving that fellowship, Lawton Barker Fellowship Award, and we are fortunate that he's here with us. So I'm going to ask him to come here so we can give this year fellows out, Admiral Lawton Barker. Now, I told you that this is the third year. In 2017, we had Steve Scrazza from University of Texas in El Paso who won the award. He is here, so I want him to come up here. Steve? All the way from El Paso, he just came here. He will be talking about his experience on that 1 year. This is a very lucrative fellowship. It's about $45,000 a year. His experience that he did in Alaska later in the program. This year, fellowship is Bishan. Bishan is here. Come on. He is in physics major, PhD in physics from City College. He has been doing some work with the community in the urban area. He will be talking about those later in the program. The 2019, I'm going to have Admiral Lawton Barker announce that name. Okay, I'm going to do it. I'm going to ask him and let him talk. Go ahead.
Yes, my pleasure. It's my pleasure to be here with you to start with, but to announce the third winner in the series is even more special to me. So it is Sonia? Sonia Ortiz. Sonia Ortiz. Suhey. 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 She's a PhD student from University of Puerto Rico in Miami. She's part of CREST. So we have the past, present, and the future Latin Barker Fellowship. We will be hearing from the other two, as I said, later in the program. I'd like you to also come here, shake hands with them as the acting administrator right now. So, okay, thank you very much. It's because of the generous donation and also the NOAA money, the NOAA EPP. NOAA EPP is the NOAA Educational Partnership Program with minority service institution that has been existing for 20 years. And we have, there are 4 centers in the country that they do this type of work that CREST does. CREST is one of them that we do in Earth System Science and Remote Sensing. There is another one in, called NCAS at Howard University that we do atmospheric science. There is a third one in the University of Florida A&M that they do ocean, the coastal. And the 4th one is at the University of Maryland Eastern Shore that they do fishery. So any area that you have some interest, you can go to any of these 4 and you can explore everything that you want to learn for those areas. Now, to change the mood of you to get a little more excited, I'm going to ask Harry back here to run the Jeopardy. The first one that he ran was the free one. This one is going to have a prize for it.
All right, now we had problems with people being a little bit shy and also quite a bit of noise in the room, so I hope you guys learned from that experience and are ready to go at it again. All right, let me hear a volunteer. Somebody raise their hand. Again, go ahead. What category?
500 space.
500 space. All right, charged particles ejected from the sun that cause the aurora borealis and can interfere with communications. What are ions? The solar wind. All right, we get another volunteer. That side of the room. How about right in the middle there? You're looking right at me. You got a black sweatshirt on. Yeah. No, you're turning. You just turn around. Pick a category. Water for 200. The process by which condensed water in the air falls to the earth. Precipitation. Yes! You got the prize.
What did they get?
Okay, let me pick another volunteer. We got
We have another one.
we got another one?
We have one more coming that
Okay, well, just one more.
This is many times surprised we can't do too many out, so we cannot too many out. Shakira? Okay, next one, Miss Vanessa Griffin. She's doing the operation. He's supervising all the operation of all the satellites that NOAA has. So with that, I'll give you.
All right, who wants to go next? Okay.
Water 500.
Water for 500. I think people have been watching Jeopardy lately. It doesn't do secret, right? This is the scientific name for the study of the transport of water by natural systems.
Is it hydraulic?
Is it hydraulic? Well, let's be close enough. I'm sorry, I had to yell. Which one for two? Okay, space for 200. The answer is these chunks of ice and frozen gas have eccentric orbits and majority with me. Try a different one. We did that question earlier. Yeah.
Okay, so space 300.
Space for 300, all right? It takes 8 minutes for light to reach us from this familiar star. What is the sign? All right?
That session, and after that we can come back to Jeopardy.
Okay,
That's
next time.
already. Next session is going to be run by the students that they have been part of this program. And with that, Dr. Shakila Meshan is going to run the session.
Good afternoon, everybody. I want it one more time. Yay. So let's see, we have students from Walt Whitman Middle School, Bronx Community College, LaGuardia Community College, LaGuardia, Francis Lewis High School, CUNY Explorer actually, Queensboro Community College, Borough of Manhattan Community College. There you go. Eagle Academy of Holland. And City Tech, New York City. And of course, my City College students. All right, so we are going to start the student session. And if you guys want to be part of NOAA, you need to see what our students are doing right now who are part of NOAA, okay? So with that, I will call our student panelists to be seated here. We have a panel session that will be, prior to that, we have a NOAA Howling Scholar, Mushadir Shahi, who will present his NOAA experience. He was actually elected to be a national scholar for NOAA. I would like to see what he's doing with his experience as an undergraduate in NOAA Sciences. Okay, with that, Mushadir.
Thank you, Dr. Shakila. Hello, everyone. So my name is Mushadir Shahi. I'm an environmental engineering student. I'm a senior. Next term is my last term. This is good? You good? This is good? So there is an all-Howling Scholar class of 2018 and 2020. All at the end, the red arrow. All that for being the tall guy. So today I want to talk about the NOAA Howling Scholarship that I got into in 2018 January, after March. And Dr. Lubakar Miska, thank you. I wouldn't know about this program if it wasn't for you, so thank you for that. Thank you for writing the recommendation letter. So basically, if you become a NOAA Howling Scholar, you have to do a project. So you get paid the first year for a scholarship for about $10K, and next year summer you do a project with NOAA Howlings, right? So I have to work on a project, and I'm working with Dr. Tarendra right there. So we're working on a project called Extreme Weather Impacts on New York City Public Transportation, focusing on MTA, subway, and bridges. So who took subway today? Like, when you from New York City, come on, who took subway? So basically the goal is to see with an extreme weather impacts, like such a snowstorm or heavy precipitation, such as rainfall, what it do to MTA revenue. How much money would MTA lose over this extreme weather event? So if you look at this graph, so I made it for this presentation, which is, if you look at 2010 December, when we had 30 inches of snow, and you see what happens to the subway stretch at Times Square. So this is all this for Times Square. On that day, for that week, 25 to 31st, it's a holiday week. The snowstorm happened of like 30 inches, and we got a decrease of swipes. Same thing happens, but a different thing happens when there's in July. So July, when there's the hottest week, we get more swipes. So we want to study the effect of these extreme weather events of snowstorm and heat waves, also heavy rainstorm. I don't have the graph for heavy rainstorm as of yet. We are working on it. This is a project for summer. So I'm going to be working on that over the summer for about 10 weeks here at NOAA CREST. So how does this project collide with NOAA's mission? I'll put a quote just from NOAA's website, is we get to study climate change and also the impacts of weather events. So basically, we're looking at these revenue issues and, hopefully get to work on it in the summer and complete it over 10 weeks. Also, this is a paid internship. Isn't that nice? So NOAA Holland's experience so far, 2018 when I got in, went down to Maryland, DC for about a week. Everything from leaving my house to get to Maryland, the NOAA took care of it. And big thanks goes to OED, Office of Education. They were there for us. 4 or 5 people working in the team. They took care of our hotel. We stayed in a 4-star hotel, man. Come on. Thank you to the OED. I don't get to say thank you a lot for them, but I have to do it for, and also the site visits. So if you become the Holland Scholar, you get to do a site visit. You get to work on whatever project you want. They have their own website. You get to select from about 200 projects. And you get to go to the site and actually walk around the site and get more information about housing, how you're gonna stay there for about 10 weeks. So that was the fun part. So I'm gonna do a site visit in the summer. I'm gonna go to Oklahoma, Norman, Oklahoma. So I'm looking forward to that. Next step for my project is to actually publish the research study, which a lot of the NOAA Holland Scholars, they do publish their work at some point in the summer, after they're done with the internship. So that's one of my goals. Also, pursue my master's after I'm done here next winter in our business. So that's all it is. Thank you.
All right. Isn't that fun that he's undergraduate and he's already a scientist? Wow. Right? How many of you want to be a scientist? Yes. That's a lot of hands. With that, I would call our panelists, Cesar Incopi, Nicholas Maxfield, Sienna Dante, Equisha Glenn, Andrea Gomez. These are some of our wonderful scholars and NOAA ambassadors who will walk you through their journey of being a NOAA scholars here. But before that, I do not want to forget our online audience. Just as we have students here at City College, we have students in Puerto Rico, San Diego State University, Hampton University, University of Maryland, Baltimore County. John, can we show them on the screen? Maybe not. But we do have online audience, so we just want to be sure that it's a national event for us. So we're really thankful for all of you guys who are here to learn about NOAA. So with that, I would hand over the podium to Cesar Incopi and Wisham, who will be moderating this session. Thank you.
Hey, good afternoon, guys. My name is Cesar Incopi. You guys probably saw me all day running around. I'm going to be one of the moderators, and the other one is going to be my partner here. He's going to introduce himself.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for being here. My name is Vishan Narayansingh. You'll hear more about me later, but let's get to these guys.
Definitely. No, but before we get to them, let me tell you a little bit about myself. I am also a NOAA CREST fellow, if you guys didn't guess that. My name is Cesar Incopi. I was born and raised in South America, Colombia. I came to this country when I was 14 years old. I did high school and I did an associate's degree in accounting, then I realized I didn't like it. I ended up here, and it's okay. Most of you guys will find that life, is not a straight line. I ended up here doing environmental engineering. Now I'm working and I'm very involved with NOAA CREST, and I'm glad to be here. I'm doing research with my mentor, Dr. Naresh Devanini, and let me put it very simply. My research has to do with precipitation data. What we're trying to do is we're trying to determine which areas of the United States are having more frequent extreme precipitation events. And this has social implications, such as flooding. Planners could use our results. Farmers also could benefit from this, and even communities that are suffering from water scarcity in the long run. Right? So let me tell you a little bit fun fact about me. You guys can't see it, but I love snowboarding. I love snowboarding, and I can't wait for the winter to be here, even though it just left. So if you guys like snowboarding, never done it, go do it. If you're already done it, hit me up. We could go hit the slopes. I love traveling, and that's actually one of the reasons why I decided to come to NOAA CREST or be involved in NOAA CREST is because there's a little hidden package. It's called Travel Grant, and you get $1,200 a year to go present your research. You present your research in conferences around the country, and to me that was a plus. And I like getting to know people, right? So I'm going to show you a couple of pictures of what I've been able to do here since I've been, I guess, acquainted or involved in our CREST. The top left picture is, it was this past summer. I was able to participate as a mentor in the NOAA CREST Summer Bridge and the RU program. And that's the team that I work with. And the most interesting thing is that it's high school students, undergrads, grads, and PhD. So you have a ladder of experience. And it's very nice to see how, this high school students just coming in, they have no idea. At the beginning it's tough, but at the end of the summer, when they leave, they're so much more knowledgeable than when they came in, and they have an idea. Maybe they didn't like what they did, but at least they know now than then. And I think that's very important. Going out there and exploring, right? Also going to, if you look at the bottom left picture, that's us in Arizona. That's another NOAA CREST fellow. We went out and we actually were there for AMS. We presented our research, but then after that we went hiking in the desert. Never been in the desert, my first time. I did it because I'm NOAA CREST. Hey. Also, I was able to go to the National Center for Atmospheric Research in Boulder, Colorado. Participated in a leadership workshop that I actually got through NOAA CREST indirectly. That I think it changed the way that I think about my career. It really led me to think about a management position for my future. So that's pretty much my stuff. Last thing, I'm gonna make it quick. We are working towards, we want to bring back the NOAA CREST Club, Student Club. If this initiative happened in the past, it wound down, but now what we want to do is we want to bring it back. We want to get settled in place for future cohorts. And there's a lot of benefits to this, and one of them is that the improvement of communication between the student body and the administration is usually, communication is usually something that sometimes is not as perfect as we want it to be. And if we have a student club, we can work towards improving this, and we can add more validity to ourselves as a student body, right? Aside from that is community outreach. We could, reach out and involve the community as the previous clubs did. They made events where they got the community out and they taught them about the science that we do and raise awareness, and like a lot of you young kids. That's pretty much about myself. So now we're gonna move on to one of the panelists, Sienna.
Hi everyone, my name is Sienna. I'm from Hunterdon County, New Jersey. So I'm a third year junior here studying environmental engineering. My research focuses on higher wave heights that may be caused by storms. What happens is then the higher wave heights bring more water onto the beach, which floods the beach and the surrounding coastal communities. For example, here's a picture of Hurricane Sandy. That did a lot of damage to the beach and the towns nearby. So my research aims to help forecasters at the National Weather Service better understand how they can prepare for flooding in order to protect lives and property in coastal communities. For fun, I do a ceramics class on the weekend. So here, in this picture here, I'm presenting my poster last summer after I interned at the National Weather Service in Mount Holly, New Jersey. There's my research advisor, Dr. Lochinvar, he's back there. And that is out in the lobby right there. So that is showing that NOAA CREST really has taught me ways to, present in a professional way that I really wouldn't have the opportunity to otherwise. In this picture, I'm in Seabright, New Jersey, where I'm calibrating the HF radar antenna that I use for my research.
Hi everyone. My name is Nicholas Maxfield. I'm also a CREST fellow here. I'm a master's student in sustainability. Something interesting about me is that, or as you might actually be seeing up there, is that my background is a little bit different academically. I have a geography undergrad and an international relations master's, kind of a mixture or interdisciplinary background. So, any of you who are thinking you like science, but you also like other things, there's a lot of value in that. It's been a huge asset for my research. I've been doing research in projecting a stream flow and trying to understand what's impacting stream flow and how those activities are actually either causing drying or wetting in the streams. Something interesting about me, I think it's a fun fact, you might not, is that, I was the captain of the football team in high school, 4 years, starting cornerback, and, still try to stay active, though I'm trying to protect my brain a little bit more than... if you want, the picture in the last page, I was like swimming in the water. One of the cool things about being in NOAA is that it's not just, obviously you've heard you get to do a lot of things, you get to work with your community, you also get to, touch the things that you're working with. Any other time you'd be swimming in a lagoon under a river, you look like a crazy person. I got to do it as a professional crazy person, I guess. I'd say go to the next slide. I joined CREST for a few reasons, mostly because, as you know, as I already said, I'm an interdisciplinary guy, and I've always thought, I am a scientist, whether or not I want to be a scientist. And people here at the CREST, people like Shakila and Reza and my mentor, Indrani, kind of encouraged me to get out of my shell, and they give me the opportunities to go out and go swimming and touch the fish and learn how to code and things like that. And through them, I've gone to Santa Cruz to research. I've gone to Washington, D.C. and to Phoenix, Arizona to present in front of experts. And it's tough, but it's actually really meaningful. So that's it. Thank you.
Okay, well, hello. Wow, you guys have such nice, interesting things going on.
It took more than 5 minutes.
But I am Akeisha Glenn, also a NOAA CREST scholar, and I am a civil engineering PhD student. Yeah, and that's possibly because of NOAA. One of my first fun facts is that I like to collect degrees. So I have 2 bachelors and 2 masters so far. And Professor Kambilvari says, why not do 2 PhDs? If you want to, CREST, I'm open. I could do another PhD if you want. But as you see here, so I actually started off with biology. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to be a doctor. I'm going to save lives and all these things. And then I got the degree and I said, oh, actually, no, never mind. I don't want to do that. but I still wanted to help people. The driving force was always there. I always wanted to have a positive impact and help people be healthy, including the environment. So I just switched gears and I went to environmental engineering. And CREST kind of, I guess you can say, found me. I was taking a remote sensing class, my first time doing anything with satellites, and I was going crazy in that class. It was so hard for me, but I really worked very hard. I went to the office hours. I was really studying, really trying to understand it. And the professor was really actually impressed by how far I had come along in that class. And he's the one who actually told me about CREST, and then that's how I met Shaquilla and everybody. So my research actually focuses on climate change and water resources. So basically, it's just understanding the large-scale impacts of what's going on in the climate and what does that mean for us here on the ground. And specifically, I'm interested in how that impacts water availability, especially in this region. This region is actually designated by the IPCC. Does anyone know who the IPCC is? In the front? Okay. Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, yes. But they designated this area as one of the most vulnerable and seriously impacted by climate changes, and it's very understudied compared to a lot of other regions. And a lot of the climate changes that happen here do have impacts on us here as well. As we already know, we've seen from the intensity of hurricanes and things that we experienced here. So it is very important to understand what's going on here. And my other real fun fact is that I'm an escape the room extraordinaire. Has anyone done escape the room? I have not met a room that I cannot escape from, so, bring it on. I like to be challenged at work. I like to be challenged for fun. I see who I am now as a person. Okay, you can go to the next slide. So this is from my NERTO. As you can see, it changed my life. It changed my hair. So my NOAA mentor here, Dr. Tom Smith, he's amazing. He's a physical scientist there, and he also works as part of KICS Essex. There's a lot of acronyms. Let me stop using those. So this is me actually presenting my research from my NERTO that I completed this past fall. And what was really cool about that is because they're associated with the University of Maryland. So I was actually able to take a class there also to learn about atmospheric science, because I'm not an atmospheric scientist, but I needed to understand that to do my research. So they made it possible. I'm still not an atmospheric scientist, but it did help me understand like that side of the science world, so I can incorporate it into my own research. And this is, like I said, just me giving a talk about it. And I also got to collaborate with scientists there. We're publishing a paper, so it was really cool. So yeah, that's it. I'm gonna move on.
All right, yeah, we have amazing panelists, as you guys can see, and we're pretty diverse. So first off, my name is Andrea, and my background's a little different as well. So I'm originally from California. People are always like, why did I decide to come over to New York City from California? But I love it here, and my background is more in marine biology. So I came here, and at first, when I came into CREST, Shaquilla and Reza, I was like, I really want to do something marine. My background is biology. But this program's amazing because it's really flexible. So even if you haven't seen a project or something that you thought that you really wanted to do, but you have your own ideas, it's great because this program really allows you to pursue something that you might be really interested in. And even though I want to do marine near New York City, but they've been able to send me so I've been going to Puerto Rico. So I'm a 4th-year PhD student, and I'm doing Earth and Environmental Sciences, and I am studying the temperature stress on coral reefs. So how many people have heard of coral bleaching? Raise of hands.
Besides the people.
Okay, well, that's good. So coral bleaching has been a big problem, and basically we want all our corals to look really healthy and beautiful, and when they turn white, that actually means that they're sick and dying. So my research is looking at how we can use satellites to better monitor corals. So that's the remote sensing aspect. But then since I still really wanted to keep that bio background, I've had the opportunity to go and also collect coral tissue samples. And I'm looking at some DNA extraction and qPCR analysis to try to better understand the coral-algae relationship. So yeah, this program really gives you the flexibility to do that. And I guess a fun fact is I love scuba diving, so it worked out for me that for my research that I'm able to dive and collect my samples and do my own work, so it's been really cool. So if you guys are interested, yeah, like more marine or scuba diving, it's definitely possible with this program. Briefly, so one of my favorite things about this program is that it does send you to different conferences. So as you'll see, we usually have like AGU, the American Geophysical Union, and that's usually in December. And yeah, so it's nice because then you start to build your CREST family, and as people graduate, you get to go to these conferences and like reconnect and help network and see what everyone has been up to. So there's some photos from the conferences. Oh no. Okay. I don't know what that was. And then I did my NERTO also, and that was like amazing. So that's one of the best parts I think of the program is you get to do a 12-week internship at any NOAA facility. So it's amazing. You can try to go think of maybe a place that you might want to live, and you can go do a 12-week internship there and network and see if that's actually a place you'd want to go. So I did mine in Miami at AOML down there, and it was amazing. And yeah, I got to do field work, so up in the boat there, and we were deploying these in-situ temperature loggers, so in the case there, temperature. And the last thing I want to say is, yes, if you're interested in learning more about coral, there's a Netflix documentary, Chasing Coral, and that one will provide a lot of insight. And in it is the chief scientist, Dr. Mark Akins, and he's really, he's from NOAA Coral Reef Watch, and he's been a great mentor, so.
Yeah, so thank you all very much. You all had some really good jokes too, so props for that. I think we should make it a little bit more interactive, so does anybody in the crowd have a question that you'd like to ask our panel? Anybody at all? Anyone?
No interaction here.
No, nobody at all. Okay, how about you right there?
My question is, how would you nurse a coral reef after its health?
Okay, so I guess this is specific to Andrea, so.
So yeah, that's true. So just because the coral is bleached doesn't mean they necessarily died. It depends on like the duration of the stress. So there's been like kind of coral engineering. So they're trying to put like, so if there's water's really warm, they're actually trying to put hoses and provide cool water to the corals down there. Or if they know that, yeah, it's going to be a heat wave coming, then they can put like shade cloths over the coral to help reduce the stress. But coral nurseries and aquaculture are a big thing right now. So they're also trying to kind of like make genetically modified corals and inject them with more heat tolerant algae. So there's still a lot of hope for corals. It's a big active research.
Is there another question? How about you right here in the front?
What are the requirements and selection process for high schoolers to undergrads to become a part of NOAA CREST?
I think that's probably better for Shaquila to answer.
So the question was, how do you really transition yourself from being a high school graduate to college? So we do run a high school program. It starts in June, right after the high school. And Kenneth and Danny Hernandez, are you here? Hi. Oh yes, there you go. So these are the students who are actually our high school graduates. They got 3 college credits. They got a $1,000 scholarship to be with us and learn NOAA while they were still in school. And when they graduated, we adopted them as CREST scholars, and they are now our undergraduate scholars here at CREST. And Kenneth is going to go to Oxford in summer, so one of the NOAA lab to do, satellite operations. How do these satellites really talk to us on the Earth, from the orbit to the land, right? So he'll be really exposed to that kind of training. He's an electrical engineer, and Daniel is a system science engineer, computer science engineer, my bad. So we do have engineers in the going. So if you are interested, we are still recruiting students for the 2019 cohort. But the catch here is because you get 3 college credits, you really have to have your PSAT or SAT exams done, so you will not be able to register for the college course. So if you are a rising junior or you're graduating senior, you're more than welcome to learn more about our program. I will leave you my card, my information, and you can contact me later. Okay? Did that answer your question? All right, great.
We have a few more minutes. How about you there with the time?
Yeah, so I'll never like satisfy my curiosity, you know. I want to go and do and study science, but I feel like we need to do something about these problems. And if let's say if I went into like a research career, you know, such as the things that you've been doing, what are some ways that you find that you can cause some changes to the way that we do things that your research could find troubling about the way we do it? That was not very clear. You know what I'm asking?
You're asking like, what can we do about it? What action can we actually
What can our research do to help solve some of the problems we face in this world?
Yeah, so you find out some troubling news. Corals are being bleached. I imagine you want to do something about that, but your position professionally is just to find things out. What are things that you can do to make these changes that you want?
Right.
Okay. That's a good question, because you have some people who they're comfortable, they just want to crunch the numbers and put it out or just do the research. But that's the reason why, as I mentioned earlier, I'm a civil engineering PhD student, but as you see, my research has a lot to do with climate science. So one way you can do that is you can put yourself in positions where decisions can be made. So recently, that's what I did, because I also want to do something with this knowledge, right? I wanted to put into action. So that's when I looked into policy. So I applied for a position dealing with New York City and their initiative for recovery and resilience. And with that, they're actually pushing to use this information now and communicate it to stakeholders and different agencies so that they can understand. One is the biggest challenge, and the most important thing is actually communicating to other people so that they know what you're even doing in the first place. But that's one way you can do it. You can try and put yourself in positions for people who do have to make the decision, and use what you found to actually put it into action in some way. But there are other things you could do. It doesn't have to just be through policy, but that's just one example if someone has another example.
I just want to say, so the great thing though about NOAA is that it's like very operational based. So yeah, we're all doing research, but we're trying to actually make products and things that will actually be used. And since we are working with NOAA scientists, then they are able to help implement that into action plans, and then we actually can work with management. So yeah, I'm studying corals, we're finding, maybe there's a discrepancy between the in situ lockers and the satellites, and I'm actually getting to work with Coral Reef Watch and let them know, and they can improve their satellite products. So it's really nice in this program, because yeah, you're doing research, but it's going to be used, because it's very focused on how is it actually going to be used, not just to do the science for the science, but how can we actually make it operational and useful.
Right, so in the interest of time, I think we have to wrap up now, but can we have one more round of applause for our panelists? And definitely feel free to come up and ask them questions if you want to know anything else.
Should we go?
So thank you so much to the moderators as well, Caesar, Inkapi, and Rishan, our Lautenbacher Public Service Scholar. Before we go to our next session, I wanted to just let the audience know that we have fun stuff for you guys. How many of you have your raffle tickets? Good. So do you want to do one raffle round right now? And then we'll just continue the other talks as well. But just to answer your question out of curiosity, though, if you see coral reef bleaching and you want to do something as a normal human being or citizen, I think there are many organizations. One of them is the Marine Debris Tracker. It's an app you can download on your cell phones and turn on your location. And wherever you see debris, you just take a picture of that and no one will know where you are staying, because corals are affected also because of the garbage that actually finds its way into the ocean. How many of you have heard about garbage patch? Where is it? Where does it belong? Where is it? Which part of the ocean? Somebody said Pacific? That is correct, right? So where is it coming from? We as citizens, we're not just caring about the living species in the ocean that Mr. Friedman was talking about, right? So we can protect as a citizen by not letting all litter go into the ocean. So that's one way of doing a citizen science project as well. All right.
We're going to do one reference before we go to the next section. Tom, could you come here that you pull the number? You have to get every NOAA person involved in something. He actually closed it out.
330-679. 679.
679.
Must be a person for that afternoon. 679.
Another one.
All right, we'll try again. 330-653. All right.
So we will do the rest of the raffles for the end of the event. So hold on to your tickets, okay? Right now I would like to call our Latin Rocker scholars. They have done some amazing job. So it's one thing to do science. You're a scientist, yes. So what, who cares about your science? So these two gentlemen have actually done some public service work. And they are called a Latin Rocker public service scholars. So let's start with Reed and see what he has done. I think I have Stephen first, right? Stephen Esparza. So he's our Latin Rocker scholar. He came all the way from University of Texas, El Paso. And we will listen to what he has done as a public service scholar.
Hey, you guys. So yeah, my name is Stephen Esparza, University of Texas in El Paso. I was the 2017 Latin Rocker Public Service Scholar. I'm a second-year environmental science engineering PhD candidate. My theme is coastal resilience and broad research focus is remote sensing for Arctic coastal environments. So, for a number of years, I've conducted research in northern Alaska, particularly in Utqiagvik, the native village. Can you hear me? Is that better? The native village of Utqiagvik in Alaska is located in the Arctic, looking at the increasingly dynamic nature of coastal environments there. As some of you may already know, Arctic regions are experiencing climate warming at a rate that's much faster than areas of lower latitudes, and with that, rates of coastal erosion are also on the rise. The Latin Public Service Scholarship really gave me the opportunity to connect the sort of dramatic changes we're seeing in the Arctic with communities that are actually there, and also communities back home that are super far removed from that, like El Paso, Texas, my hometown. So the goals of this public service outreach are twofold. The first being connecting Native Alaskans to the sorts of environmental changes that are happening in their communities, and second, introducing environmental science, GIS, and remote sensing concepts to communities both in northern Alaska and Utqiagvik, and also in El Paso. So over the course of my field season in Utqiagvik, a series of hands-on activities, fieldwork, lectures were utilized to introduce a group of primarily Native Alaskan high school students to a range of topics. During classroom sessions, GIS web mapping applications were utilized to introduce students to GIS and geospatial concepts. GIS stands for Geographic Information Systems, and this is essentially a way that people can look at maps and data and analyze them or visualize them. These applications allowed students to essentially interrogate and analyze and look at the changes that are happening in their own communities. Throughout the class, real-world questions and prompts were given to these students with which they had to answer, essentially using these web applications, as if they were future land managers or scientists trying to make informed decisions. Then students were introduced to remote sensing collection in the field, using a method that we've used for a number of years to look at everything from vegetation change to sea ice change. And that method is kite photography, essentially strap a special camera to a kite, fly it, and take remote sensing data, essentially. Back in the lab, students were introduced to remote sensing concepts to complement the data they just collected. And we visualized this data. We talked about its uses, both in science and management, and also the students got to take a bunch of really cool air photos. So I wanted to make sure I was also connecting with the community members of UTGAVIC as well. So throughout the summer field season, I gave a number of talks and lectures that were geared more towards the adult crowd at local science centers and libraries. Here I gave updates on the state of the coastal erosion and environmental changes that were happening in their communities. So key to these sessions were discussions on the specific kinds of changes and how those changes are actually affecting key infrastructure like roads, houses, or buildings, and also traditional ways of life. They are subsistence hunters, so they rely on roads to get to certain hunting spots or places to launch their boats. I also connected with a local citizen science group called Coastal Observers of Barrow, whose main goal is essentially to go out to the beaches before and after storms to measure them. And then this way they can sort of track how the beaches are changing within their communities. With them, I trained them up on the science and technique of collecting high accuracy differential GPS data. And with that, I helped them collect it and process the data as well for their own purposes. Back in El Paso, I wanted to bring home what I learned about the impacts in the Arctic and the ways that we're measuring those impacts. For a group of high school environmental science students in El Paso, I once again introduced concepts of GIS, GPS, and remote sensing through hands-on activities both in the lab and in the field, this time using drones or UAVs. During field trips, we learned about UAV operations, flew the UAVs, and then collected aerial imaging data sets. We processed these UAV data sets into 3D elevation models of our field trip areas. And we were able then to essentially, students were able to visualize and investigate this 3D data with another browser-based open source web application called Plaz.io. Essentially, this just allows students to manipulate and play with 3D data. And then throughout the class, we gave them prompts, questions to answer, also using this. So, what is the circumference of the water tower in the western half of the scene, or if areas were to become inundated, which areas would be impacted the most? Additionally, I had the awesome opportunity to present higher level environmental science concepts to elementary school students at the elementary school I actually attended. During the semester, they had a bunch of these science explosion events, so that was a really rewarding experience for me. So, yeah, the impact, I had two groups of high school students, both in Alaska and back home in El Paso. And I gave a number of talks to some adults and many elementary school students. I plan to revisit the high school in El Paso so that we can start going over multispectral imaging. This is just another kind of remote sensing. And if you'd like to contact me, there's my email. And if you want to know more information about those web mapping applications that we use, you can visit barrowmaps.org. All right, how you doing out there? Are you still awake? See a number of you are on your phone. You better pay attention here. All right. So anyway, my name is Vishan. Most people know me by V. I spent half my life in the Bronx and half my life in upstate New York. So the title of my project this year was called Weather and Climate Club. Just a little bit about myself. When I was growing up, I wasn't really like a nerd kid. I was in a rock band when I was in high school. I basically lived in the principal's office, but you have to work hard in order to get where you want to be and achieve your dreams. So, if you're not on the right path now, you can get there. I'm a third-year physics PhD student, and in studying physics, I've done a lot of cool things. I've worked with lasers, I've studied a bit of astrophysics and quantum mechanics, so it's very broad, but right now I study fluid mechanics of atmospheric blocking. And one thing that I'm very passionate about is STEM outreach and teaching STEM and bringing STEM to people. And I've done a lot of work doing this over the years, so reach out to me at some point if you want to learn more about that. So without further ado, let's get to the project. So here's a couple pictures, but I'll get more into it. So when I set out to do this project, we had a couple goals in mind, right? And one of the goals was to enhance public knowledge about weather and climate in New York City, and then connect you all, the general public, with NOAA's mission, and then study how climate in New York City has changed over time. So here's a pretty startling figure showing the rise in average yearly temperature over the years that we did part of this project with. And then here's Mason. Maybe you saw him earlier presenting our poster, and he's using a Tesla coil to do some scary stuff. I was pretty sketched out by that, but so this was implemented in 2 phases. So throughout last year, from June to December, we went through phase 1. So we worked with a focus group of 5 students from Hamilton Grange Middle School and 1 student from Eagle Academy. Eagle Academy, are you here still? Yeah. All right. Trinity Jones. And what we did is we learned about programming and coding, and then a bit about weather and climate, and how we can use programming to analyze weather and climate data. So I'm an atmospheric scientist, but really, I just sit around on a computer all day doing coding, so that's how we do it. Here's a couple of shots from us doing this last year. And then this year, for this half, we took that knowledge that we acquired from our classroom sessions, and we applied it to real-life data from the National Weather Service. So we took temperature and precipitation data from 1869 till now, and if you go look at our poster outside, you'll see more about it. But we studied how weather and climate has changed over the years in New York City. So, I mean, some interesting but kind of scary things that we found is that temperature has been consistently increasing over the years. And we found that extreme rain events have been happening more often. And if you think back to last Friday and Saturday, it was raining really hard. So, I mean, these things are real. And then after we did these studies where we created PowerPoint presentations and our posters, our goal now is to go out into the community and share what we've studied with others and connect them with what we've done. So last week was our first presentation. We came here to City College, and here you can see a day in Gion. They're giving a talk about our research and also about what the normal person can do about climate change. And I'll put my contact information up here. If you want, we can come to your school or your organization and we can tell you about this work as well. So thus far, we've worked with a focus group of 5 students. We gave our first talk last week to about 12 people, and then we have 2 more talks planned for this month, and then in the future, we want to connect with more people, more organizations. You can find us on Facebook, Weather and Climate Club. We're also on the Gram, Weather and Climate Club. And then my information is up there, so snap a pic of that. If you want to contact me, we'll come to your school or maybe have a side conversation about it. I'm here and I'm more than willing to connect with anybody who's interested in this stuff. Thank you, and thank you all for being here.
Thank you, we the scientists. So if you guys want to come back to City College, who knows, he might become Professor Vishon after he graduates. So with that, one more round of applause to all our student presenters here. Thank you so much. So we just wanted to introduce our incoming public scholar, Suhi Ortiz. if you just wanted to talk a little bit.
Hello everyone, I'm Suhey from University of Puerto Rico. I just fly here to visit this prestigious award. It's an honor for me to be here. As you see, I'm a fifth year doctoral student. And you say, fifth year? Wow. Yes, I changed my topic 3 times, 2 different proposals, and a different background. My bachelor degree is in post-amine biology. My master is in chemistry, biochemistry, and now my PhD is in remote sensing and ocean color, light interaction with the remote sensing stuff, the optics, and water quality. How to connect this with natural research management in water quality terms. So if that's just show you that you can change the path of your career in the different steps that you are taking right now. You don't have to be into a box and just start with engineering and just keep focused there. As you see, I'm integrating different areas of research in environmental science. And my future plans as Lautenbacher Fellow include more workshops and outreach in remote sensing. How to introduce remote sensing to high school students. How to use free tools that are available online to trace different changes in land cover, land use, vegetation index, burning index, how to use this information to study an area of interest that they can have to monitor certain area just to for planning, for urban planning, or for environmental science. Also, I'm planning to work with an NGO that is closely related to NOAA missions, different NOAA missions, and also working with natural resource management. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Julie. So we look forward to your work next year. We're excited. One of the traditions we have at NOAA CREST Day is to acknowledge our students' hard work. Because CREST Day serves as our foundational day, we celebrate this for the last 18 years. We have been celebrating it, and we give out 3 different categories of award to our students. The first award, and the categories are academic achievement, professional development, and community outreach. So we have a tie for the first 2 categories. So the outstanding academic achievement award goes to Abraham Rubel. So Abraham, as you can see, this is an academic excellence. He's also a father. He's an undergraduate, he's a father, and he's doing excellent in his class. So, yes, absolutely. You can do it. That's an example. You can just do it if you want to be. So, congratulations, Abraham. So, the second tie on this is Corey Monteverde. She is from San Diego State University. And she's not here with us, but she is in California, and I'm not sure if we can show her on the screen. But that's her. She is a master's in geography, and her research is climate change impact on vineyards regions within the Southern California. Again, an awesome stellar student. In another round of applause for Corey, who is not here with us. So the second category is the professional development. we all want you guys to just not be nerds, right? You want to have to good communicator when you go in the world, right? You just don't want an academic degree. So we have this category. The first award is Astrid Chacon. Again, she is an undergraduate student in electrical engineering from University of Texas, El Paso. Not here. She's virtually available. But amazing student, undergraduate level. She's already a member of 2 professional societies, and she will be doing a master's degree, so she's really professionally advanced herself as a NOAA scholar. So the second award,
let me explain also that each award comes with $50 card that they have to sign and give me the form back so we can get
So the second professional development award goes to Ariel Abdi. What can I say about Ariel? She's a born data scientist. She's a math major. She's a data cruncher. And guess what? She's graduating and leaving us soon to be a risk analyst with Goldman Sachs. So that's the kind of training our students are getting. Even before you graduate, you have a job offer waiting for you. Isn't that cool? I mean, which agency gives you enough money to really graduate yourself? It's a full paid scholarship, and yet you are job ready, right? Gone are the days when you have a high school degree and you get a job. No, it's not the case. So you really have to think about getting these kind of internship opportunities. Moving on to our final category, it's community engagement and outreach. So the award goes to the one and only Adrian Pena. So it's just not enough to do science, right? We all agree with that. We need to serve our community. And Adrian is an amazing example of how he has helped install the stations, weather stations in our community within the 5 boroughs of the New York City. And actually 10 of those sites are within the high school and middle school. Some of them are here. And he actually teaches them about weather. And it's just his nature, his personality. So that's why he is very well deserving this honor. Thank you so much.
I must add that Adrian was the past captain of the baseball team of the college baseball team.
Congratulations to all the awardees. Do you want a group shot? So,
they come here for a group shot.
well, you guys are taking a group shot. I will all the awardees, yes. Abraham, Ariel, and
No problem.
do you want
Yes.
I don't know a lot about it. I think.
All right, very good. Everybody look at this camera, please. All right. Don't forget to smile. Very good. One more. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we are all about scholarships. We want our students to get funded for what they're doing. One other acknowledgement we want to do or announce another scholarship program that we're starting with our private sector. It's called Science Systems Applications Incorporation. This is one of the major federal contractors with NOAA and NASA. And we partner with them. We're very happy to announce that SSAI is sponsoring one scholarship for one of the students. We haven't announced or recruited a student yet, but any one of you can be part of that. It's a summer internship for 10 weeks. You will go to DC, and you will be paid your housing, your travel, and a monthly scholarship will be given out. And we're glad that Jacqueline Kendall, the Chief Knowledge Officer from SSCI, is here, and we just wanted to announce and acknowledge the contribution and partnership from our private sectors. We work together, the federal agencies, the private sectors, and the academic community, to really nurture the next generation workforce. We cannot do it alone, we do it together. So we really wanted to acknowledge that about our partners.
Okay, we have to finish this event by 2 o'clock. That means we have 5 minutes and we have to give out a lot of prizes here. So I think you guys are, lucky that you are still here so you can get some of yours. So we start with some raffle and while Sarah is coming to do the Jeopardy. Let's run.
Okay, 330520. 520, anybody? We got a 520? 330534. 534. 534, do we have anybody? All right.
All right, the next winner, 563. Come on down, 563. Oh, we're going to make the Jeopardy now? All right, couple Jeopardy questions. Who wants to go?
Do you want raffle or Jeopardy?
One more time, you want raffle or Jeopardy? Here we go.
And I wanted someone to answer from satellite questions. Oh well. 626. 626. 626. Anyone? Going once? Going twice? 629. 629. No winner. No winner. 521. 521.
Okay, next one. 644. Anybody for 644?
Yeah, boy.
Okay, next one. 628. Anybody for 628?
Okay, we're going to establish a rule. If the number does not exist, one above it is okay. So if you say 623, you can go 624. Okay? If the number does not exist.
Okay, next one. 474. Anybody have 474?
475.
All right, next one. 444.
How about 445?
What time do you want?
Look here, wait a minute, sir. 542. No! 542. How about 543? Anybody have 543? All right, we'll try again here. 535. All right, everyone got it? Come on down. 535. All right, here's the next one. 502. We'll keep going. 453. 453. Anyone? 454. No takers there either.
What's that? How many more you got? Four more, okay. So we got 3 now.
Okay, next one, 466. Come on down. Okay, next one, 533. Anybody with 534? Next one, 454. 455.
Last one.
517. Anybody have 518? Okay, we got 517. We got a winner.
Okay, hold on. We have 4 for teachers. We have also a raffle for teachers. Below teacher. 249. Any of the teachers out here, come and get your prizes. We don't raffle. Guys, thank you very much for coming. That was 18th annual NOAA CREST Day. Thanks.
Where do we go?
I do get
Adios.
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 All right, let's do this.